Hello there from Pietermaritzburg in South Africa. My name is John Jorgensen. I did a video a while back as to how one can modify the Josway stand for the Dragonflight 95, and I'm sure the Dragonflight 65 is the same. And I've made a few amendments to it, and I just want to actually show you those amendments. We all have a stand here like this, and it's made very simply. It goes from the display situation, which I'll show you just now, and when you get on site, you just pull this around and you can put the boat into the stand in an almost 90-degree position. If you've got a piece of protection on the fin, that's great, otherwise you can take it off, and it's such that it's off the ground. The nice thing about this is that while you've got it vertical to rig it up and what have you, if the wind's blowing, you just pull this bar up and it can go to 45, or if it's really blowing and you're going to be leaving your boat for some time, it can go right down almost horizontal. The actual construction of this is incredibly simple. On the existing stand, if you have a look close here, I've put in a few little stainless steel self-tapping screws. That's basically just to keep the stand all together. And then you just take a normal half-inch PVC electrical conduit and drill a hole to the same diameter as this cross tube here and on the legs here, and obviously assemble them before you put these top bits on here. And on the corners we have a little 90-degree that can be plumbing or electrical corners. Glue them together or screw them together as I've done. And I'll talk about the brackets now, but at some point, whatever form of bracket that you have on here, we need to put a screw that goes into the tube to stop this bracket rotating around this tube. And the only important thing is that when you do that, you need to do it in such a way that when the stand is in the upright position here, that the angle of this bracket on this tube is such that the fin is off the ground, because if it's angled down too much, that's going to touch. You lay it on a gravel tarmac or something, you're going to do a nice little damage there. These particular brackets I've had 3D printed. Now that's great, and more people are getting 3D printed printers, or have a friend that's got one. Just any bracket that represents the cross section of the hull with a suitably sized hole. We've just gone a bit further and put some DF95 logos on there. But if you don't have access to that, you can use PVC gutter brackets on the outside of your house. You might have to trim a little edge off or what have you, and basically at the top of this tube here, you drill two little holes through and put a 3mm bolt through, and the actual bracket will be sitting here quite nicely, and on the recess here you just use the closed cell neoprene foam, which has normally got a peel off backing, stick that down, and you essentially are going to achieve the same result. Alternatively, if you've got some thick plastic, you can have it laser cut or cut it out on a bandsaw and smooth it off. I've also seen these brackets made out of 22mm or 18mm plywood, where they've cut out the basic shape, drilled a hole through, sanded it down, painted it back black, and put a screw on, and it does the same purpose. It doesn't have to be a 3D printed goodie. So at the end of the day, when you want to pack your boat away, and use this as a display stand. What's so nice is that you just put this through like this, under there, and stick it back on top of the stand. And that's basically how the stand was originally designed to be used, but this is still within the confines of the stand, so it's not taking up more space. But please guys, I've seen too many people use these stands to rig up on site, and the wind comes and they are not stable. They just fall over, they just bang, crack, and what have you. So do yourselves a favor, make a very simple little stand modification like this. It probably took me half an hour to make this, apart from obviously the 3D printing. I've got a friend to do that. But at the end of the day, that's what you're looking for. And I do have a shock cord here. And the reason I've got the shock cord is that this here, when you've got the rig on, can be blown forward this way. So I've got a shock cord here with a little hook, and I've got a hole in the bracket here somewhere. And there we go. We've got the shock cord on, and it holds it in position. When I'm transporting it, I've got another shock cord here that goes around the whole stand, and I basically just wrap that around so that when I'm transporting it, in fact when I transport it in my car, I basically put it back in this position here. This thing here, I just go around like that. It keeps it in position nice and tight. And that's basically it. A simple modification to the stand. There are photographs with dimensions on the length of these PVC tubes and this cross tube here. But quite honestly, if you do it yourself, you don't need my measurements. You can see this tube's just got to be a little bit longer than your stand. And these tubes here, you can drill a hole at the bottom, and then when you come to trim it off at the top, just make them long enough that your keel is missing the bottom. And then you chop it off, put the elbows on, and whatever space is between the two elbows at the top, here, is the length of this particular tube. Guys, this is not rocket science. There are some very nice other ideas that people have posted where there's a bracket at the bottom here that swings around, but that only gives you a position with the boat lying flat down, which is great. Probably don't need more than that. But I was just looking at a stand that's got a more solid, stable base, and can be adjusted through a range of positions simply by pulling this tube up and down. This stand is over a year old. The holes I've drilled here are still plenty tight enough. Obviously you've got to make the holes the same diameter as that tube, so perhaps slightly drill them a little bit smaller, just get a little file and then file them and sand them until they're just a nice snug fit. That's it. These tubes normally come in white, and obviously this was, I think, a bright pink colour. The guy, was the only plastic he had to 3D print. At the end of the day, just give it a spray of black spray paint, and you'll see it's got little blemishes. Oh no, I've sprayed over them. Once a season, just take your spray can and give it a few coats of spray over the affected parts that have had the paint chipped off or flaked off, and yeah, that's it. So nice little stand, it works well, it packs away small, can be used as a display stand. Obviously if you are holding your boat in the stand for any length of time, sorry, wrong way. I would suggest you put something underneath here to take the weight of the keel off the hull, and that's to avoid any potential cracking around the keel box at some point in the future. But as I said, if you wanted to transport this like that. And it works great. As I say, when I transport it, I just pull the screw around. That goes in the back of your car. So, I'm done. Have fun and see. Before I go, actually, I just wanted to also mention, when you're having a look at this on YouTube, you'll see a little subscribe button down below. Please click on it. So when I post something new, you'll be the first to know about it, and maybe you like what I've got to say. If you didn't like this, well, thanks for listening anyway. Cheers.